Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Looli podcast. In today's episode, we are talking about the Enneagram. Hard to say, but actually not that hard to understand. So, we are sitting down with someone that I have learned a lot from. That is Abbey Howe. She's an educator, author, and creator known for her relatable, lighthearted approach to self-discovery. And in this episode, we're going to go over what the Enneagram is, why it's so important, and also how different Enneagram types how that can impact your health and wellness journey. So I am super excited about this. I feel like if you don't know anything about the Enneagram, you're going to come away from this episode feeling very seen and have a little bit more understanding of your habits and your behaviors. If you are someone who is familiar with the Enneagram, then hopefully this can deepen that, but also help you understand how other types might navigate life, specifically health and wellness that we talk about in this episode, differently. I think it's so fascinating. I think a few years ago, I found out I was an Enneagram type 3. If we have any other 3s out there, let me know. But it really helps me honestly live better. Like, that sounds like such a broad statement, but I 100% believe that. So I'm excited for this episode. So get ready to tune in and deepen your understanding of, honestly, yourself. As always, guys, if you like this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast, follow it on whatever platform you are watching or listening on. It really does mean the world to us. And if you're listening in the Looli app, which all of our episodes are in the app, as well as an extended version where we have an additional Q&A with every single guest that we have on, be sure to hop over to another platform and give us a rating or review. We would love to hear from you as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this episode.
In its simplest form, the Enneagram is about the way that you see the world. So if you're familiar with personality typing systems like Myers-Briggs or StrengthsFinders or DISC, it's similar to that, but it theorizes that you can view life through one of 9 perspectives, and that perspective shapes why you do the things that you do. And what sets it apart from other personality typing systems is it really looks at your internal motivations, not your behavior. So it acknowledges like, hey, we could all procrastinate on doing something that we don't want to do. But the reason why is going to be different for everybody. For a 3, they might be putting it off because they have committed to way too many things. And they're just trying to be the best at all of these things. For an 8, it could be that they're procrastinating out of spite because they're like, they don't want to be told what to do. They're going to get it done, but they're going to waiting to get it done. For a 9, it could be that it just completely overwhelms them. It makes them want to curl up in a ball, go to sleep for 13 days. Like, there's going to be all these whys are going to be different, but the actions are this person is procrastinating on something that they need to do. So a little note about the word Enneagram, because that kind of throws people off. They're like, what the heck does that mean? Yeah, it's like, what? And so it comes from the Greek words. So Ennea means 9, basically those 9 perspectives that I was talking about. And then gramma means figure or drawing. So if you've ever seen the Enneagram symbol, it's a circle. All the numbers are around the circle. And then there's lines that connect the Enneagram types in between the circle. Those lines are important. They show how you relate to other types based on like where you go when you're stressed out, when you're in growth, when you're around people that you love, things like that. So those lines are important. It's the symbol. So you can be an Enneagram type 1, type 2, all the way to 9. But it's important to note that like being a 1 versus being like the numbers being higher or lower doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean like if you're a 1, you're the best, right? Although 1s would disagree. They'd be like, no, we are the best. But yeah, it did. And the numbers themselves don't matter. It could have been letters. It could have been Disney princesses. It could have been colors. It could have been cute woodland creatures. Like really that it's arbitrary. It's more about the lens, the way that you see the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. And how does someone know their type?
Well, it's a 4-step process. And I don't mean to sound boring there, okay? Bear with me. I promise it's fun. What everyone does when they first learn about the Enneagram is they go to Google,
Mhm.
they type an Enneagram test, and they take the first test that they can find. This is what I did when I learned about the Enneagram. I went right took a test, and I was like, all right, I guess that's me. So there's nothing wrong with that. And I think, but I'm going to say take all tests with a grain of salt because, personality typing isn't hard science. It's really hard to nail down why you do the things that you do with a series of questions online. Take a test. Don't just do it to get an array of numbers or a general feel of what numbers you might be. And so that's step 1, take a test. Step 2, there's a thing called the Centers of Intelligence Triad, which is what I go through in my book. I think it's really important for finding your type. And that's basically just like a way to categorize how you handle stress and feelings and make decisions. And that can be either through your head, your heart, or your gut. So it doesn't mean that you can't check in with your feelings or your gut or your logic if you are in one of the other centers, but it's just like your first impulse. And so that I think is really important. The third thing is the cringe test. Like, does this type seem like the cringiest type? It's probably your type. And that the cringe is a huge tell of like, that might be my type.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be step 3. And then step 4 is just learn about the 9 types. Learn about the different core motivations for the 9 types. And I think that's when it will finally click into place of like, okay, I'm definitely this type. So that's what I would recommend.
So why is it even important for someone to know their Enneagram type or the types of others?
Good question, because it could just be like a fun fact you throw out at a cocktail hour, which is fun, but doesn't really do anything for your life. I guess I'll just tell you my story, how it impacted my life. I won an Instagram giveaway. And I got sent a copy of The Road Back to You by Ian Morgan Cron and Suzanne Stabile. And I was like, this is fun. Like, I'm from the BuzzFeed generation. So I was like, which personality type am I? And I got to the Enneagram 3 and I just started weeping because, man, it was like so weird seeing all of these things that I knew about myself, but I'd never put into words. And it was like a big relief. It was like, oh, like naming it, like I'm doing all of these things to make other people think of me a certain way. Like I'm not doing these things because I love it. Maybe I did, when I was a kid, but at this point it like had become just like completely fear-based. And I didn't know that until I learned about the Enneagram and the core motivations. So for me personally, it was a huge turning point for my like career because it was like, oh, Abby, what do you want to do? What's authentic to you? And I was able to release that. Also, just like knowing there's other people out there like you who struggle with these same things made me feel less alone. And then in turn, like doing that work and learning more about my Enneagram type, it just kind of ripples over into your relationships. So like with my parents, obviously things got way better because I was healthier and I was like not doing things for their approval. I was doing things to make me happy, which made them happier. And then like with my husband, he's an Enneagram 4. I was learning about the Enneagram when we started dating. So we did a lot of like, this is why you do this. And it helps our communication and all that. So, I mean, I would say it's really helpful tangibly for like increasing compassion for other people and helping you figure out like what life path you want to do.
I would like to go through each type and I want you to briefly describe them, but then also, if you could kind of give us a little bit of insight into potentially how this type how kind of their traits might impact their approach to health and wellness.
Yeah, let's do a little overview. So, would it help if I gave some like fictional characters who
Sure.
are also this type? Okay. Sometimes it helps to have like a visual. So, type 1, the first type on the Enneagram, is called the reformer. Some fictional examples would be like Hermione Granger, Mary Poppins. This is like a very ethical, responsible person. And every day they wake up and their main goal is to improve themselves and improve the world around them. So this type fears being wrong or corruptible, which means they can sometimes become like perfectionists. They're really critical on themselves. They've got this like intense inner critic like yelling at them all the time. And then they can be really critical of other people. So a challenge, I would say, with their health and wellness patterns is like they'll focus on doing wellness right, kind of like an all or nothing. And if they do it wrong, like it's like they'll beat themselves up about it. They'll build these like really rigid routines. I think it could get a little dangerous actually for ones to get very strict about stuff, not giving grace, not letting themselves take a rest day if they're sick, just being super, super critical of themselves. Helpers. Let's see, some examples of this type would be like Anna from Frozen and Sam Gamgee from Lord of the Rings. They're like really warm people, generous people, and their middle name is like relationship, right? They build their lives around relationships and community. Their core fear is being unwanted and not needed, so they tend to focus on other people so that they'll be like, the belief is like, if I make myself indispensable to this person, then they're not going to reject me because they need me because I'm so like integral to their everyday routine. So a challenge for twos is they'll focus on everyone else's health. Like, hey, have you eaten a healthy snack today? Have you taken care of your body? Let me drive you to this class or whatever that is, while completely ignoring what they need. And that's a big thing of growth for Enneagram 2s is just setting boundaries, self-care, saying no to things so that you can say yes to things that actually matter to you.
How might that impact their health and wellness?
They don't do it. They just completely ignore it because it's like, oh, well, I have to take care of this person and I have to do this and I have to do this. And so it's hard to prioritize themselves and be like, I need this half an hour for me, because twos go through their life, going back to the centers of intelligence triad, which I mentioned in the beginning, they are in the feeling center, the heart center. So everything goes through a like filter of, okay, well, how do they feel about this? How are they feeling? Like twos walk into a room and they immediately know what everyone needs. They're very empathetic. They're very sensitive about that. But it's like odd because they're also like completely blind to what they need. So yeah, I would say that's the biggest struggle is like not even getting to it, just focusing on everyone else. So yeah, Enneagram 3s, they're known as the striver. Some examples in like media would be like Don Draper, Draco Malfoy is often called type 3, which like I'm into it. Tiana, the princess from Princess and the Frog, is a 3. They're like super driven. They're adaptable people. They work hard to succeed and shape a life that they can be proud of. Their main fear is like being unsuccessful. They really are they're goal oriented because they focus on how they appear to others. So it's like, okay, if I can achieve X, Y, and Z, then people will see me as X, Y, and Z. So 3s actually tend to be really into the health and wellness world, like in almost a detrimental way, because they're so focused on the way that they look physically, like yes, professionally and all that, but it's like it's not really about the internal, it's a lot about the external. So they're also in the heart center, but they just turn off their feelings. So they're like, they feel things, but then they're like, that's not productive, let me just shut that down. So the struggle for them, I would say, would be like focusing on results over everything, like including their own internal well-being. Like I feel like 3s they would benefit more from like a meditation practice than another workout routine or another diet or whatever. Like they really need to focus more, I think, on me and you. I need to focus more on my internal, like what's going on in there, which is why like yoga has been like huge for me because it is so much about the mind, which is something that I kind of, when I'm in like an unhealthy state, I can completely turn off. Okay, 4. So this type is known as the individualist. My husband's a 4. Some like examples in like the fictional world would be like Luna Lovegood in Harry Potter. I think Mirabelle from Encanto is an Enneagram 4. They're individuals. They are themselves. No one can define them or put them in a box. So oftentimes 4s are like, I'm not any Enneagram type. Like I'm too unique to be an Enneagram type. The through line for all 4s though is they're really creative. They approach life creatively. It doesn't mean that they're all painters and actors and stuff, although you're going to find a lot of fours in creative profession, it's more of like they have a creative mind. They solve problems creatively. They connect on deeper levels. They're not afraid of like uncomfortable stuff. So like if it's like raining and it's moody outside, they're going to be like, yes, get into the zone, get all moody. Their biggest fear is like not being special, not being unique, or like not living up to their authentic selves. So like, man, I would say it's so hard to get fours to do anything. You know what I mean? Because like, they're like, well, I am doing it my own way. So really they need a plan that's unique and individualized to them. And also like factoring in, fours are also in that heart center. So everything goes through a filter of, how do I feel about this? What are the feelings? Feelings are very like, they guide them. So I mean, how do you follow this, wellness plan if you don't feel like it? That's a huge struggle for fours. And I don't have an answer for that because yeah, I don't know. But that would be like, I would say that would be the main struggle of like, is like getting over the feelings and getting more into your body, into action mode. 5, they're known as the seeker. Some examples would be like Ron Swanson from Parks and Recreation. I think Ross Geller from Friends is a 5. They're like lifelong learners. They focus their energy on like gaining knowledge and competency, and they usually become experts in things because they just like go down a rabbit hole and they're like, wow, like, man, this is so interesting. I want to know more. I want to know more. Their main fear is being like incompetent. So a struggle that 5s feel in all areas of their life is that they'll be like, well, I don't know enough to do that. Like, let me do a little bit more observation. So it's like jumping in a pool, right? Like 3s will be like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to jump in the pool and I'm going to be the best swimmer. Like they'll just jump in. But 5s are going to be like, well, let me read a book about swimming before I get in the pool. Let me hire an instructor and like watch them teach other people. Let me like test the pH levels in the pool. Like they're going to observe instead of participate all of the time. So I would say like in terms of, sticking to a routine or changing, doing something new, finding ways to get out of that like analysis paralysis and just get into action mode. Similar to 4s, but 5s are filtering things through their head, through like thinking and logic, and 4s are filtering it through like, well, how do I feel about this? What does my heart say?
Now, would you say like a 5 would be someone who like spends a lot of time like in terms of wellness, like setting up there or like figuring out like which one is best, like doing a lot of like the research stuff ahead of time? Like what would they look like when they are doing the plan? Is it like let's say they were researching, they found this like wellness plan that they wanted to do. What would that look like once they did kind of jump in the pool and started it?
They'd be really into it.
Okay.
They would be really dedicated, really into it. Want to talk, like if they were enjoying it, they would want to talk to everybody about what they're doing, go even deeper. They would know more about it than you by the end of the day. You know what I mean? Like, when 5s get into something, they are like dedicated. So yeah, I would say that.
Okay.
So Enneagram 6s, they're known as the loyalist. Some examples of that type is like, if we're going with some friends examples, I think Chandler is a loyalist, just super strategic thinker. They're troubleshooters. Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender, I think, is a 6. They're really good at, keeping themselves and other people safe. My sister is a 6, and I always say like, she's go with the flow as long as she knows where the flow is, what time the flow is, like what she's wearing to the flow, all of that stuff. Because their core fear is like instability, not having support. So it's why they set up a lot of structures and systems so that they can count on every day looking and feeling a certain way. So the challenge for 6s is when that routine deviates, or I guess like when it feels scary or uncertain to like change routine to do better things for your body, or to get out of your established routine. That could be really scary because like 6s, they want to feel safe. They want to feel in their comfort zone. So if you're getting out of you have to get out of the comfort zone to do something good for yourself. That can be hard.
I could see them, correct me if I'm wrong, struggling a lot with like the flexibility side of things, or like tapping into the intuition, because it's like, okay, like, cool, I can do that, but tell me what that is.
Yeah, totally. That's something 6s struggle with, is trusting themselves. Like they have two things going on. They can either be doubting themselves a lot, so they're going to look to other people to tell them what to do. Like, well, I don't know if this is the right thing to do. So, or they can be highly suspicious of everybody else and only rely on themselves. So it just kind of depends. There's like a dichotomy there for 6s. Type 7 is known as the enthusiast. Some examples would be like Lorelai Gilmore from Gilmore Girls. Let's see. I'm trying to think of like Pippi Longstocking, I feel like, is an enthusiast. They're just like natural adventurers. They're drawn to like possibility and innovation. They see the silver linings on all those clouds. They can be really joyful people. I think Fred and George Weasley from Harry Potter, they're a good example of an enthusiast. Their core fear is being trapped or deprived. So it's like the ultimate FOMO, right? Like, I do not want to be put in a box. I do not want to be in a routine. So that is in and of itself a big challenge, because like routine is a big part of health and wellness. And so something that can be helpful is like changing it up, of like having basically part of your routine is trying new things with like the through line. The baseline is like, I take care of myself.
So example of that could be like, okay, I'm going to do meal planning, or I'm going to, like prioritize protein at breakfast or something like that. But maybe trying different recipes or like having some variety within that. Would that be like an example?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like it would make a 7 soul like die a little bit to be like, I have to eat sweet potatoes and eggs for breakfast every single morning. Like, get out of town. I don't want to do that. Like, and they love to go places and travel. So that can be another hurdle of like, how do you eat a certain way or take care of your body when you're out on, you're in like Lebanon, or you're on a train or on a plane. Like, how do you do that on the go? 8s are known as the protector. They are, let's see, some examples in fiction. There's oftentimes the villains are like Enneagram 8s, but 8s have huge hearts. So like, I think that they can get a little misconstrued. So like an example would be like in Mad Max, like Furiosa. She's like fiercely protective. She's a badass, powerful. 8s are people who fight for justice and stand their ground, and their guiding light is like, I'm going to protect the people and ideas that I believe in. I think oftentimes 8s, they get a bad rap because they're like, well, if their core desire is like having power, then like they must be like, steamrolling everybody. And that is true if they're unhealthy. Like, someone who's like very vocal about being an Enneagram 8 is Amy Poehler. She is I think, very like healthy Enneagram 8, so lifting other people up. 8s can be like the best mentors. Yeah. So a challenge for them is that they have a big fear of being betrayed or feeling vulnerable. For them, like, intensity feels like intimacy. So like opening up and kind of letting like actually being intimate, they could resist that. So like, I think, and also like they're similar to 4s in that like they're like, don't tell me what to do. So either they're going to be like, if you're going to tell me to do this, I'm going to do the opposite. So then 8s need to trick themselves in terms of like I have an 8 friend who was like, because getting into your body and moving is so important for 8s. But I have a friend who's like, if you tell me to move my body, I'm going to go eat Cheetos and sit on the couch. So you kind of have to like trick yourself. All right, I'm going to go have a dance party to ABBA, or I'm going to go walk around the mall and like window shop. And that's how you can like trick yourself. Or the flip side of it is 8s can be super intense people with the workouts, whatever it may be. And not value recovery at all. Like, it's very like go hard, work hard, play hard kind of mentality. 9s are known as the peacemaker. Some examples would be like Pocahontas, Luke from Star Wars. They're like really peace-loving people, obviously, the peacemaker name, who like are really good at putting themselves into other people's shoes. So they're natural diplomats. They're able to like build bridges between disparate groups of people. But the cost of that, it is themselves. They lose themselves in that because they're so focused on like keeping the peace. making sure that there's no conflict and that they're not losing connection with people. So nines have a hard time setting boundaries and like being attuned to what they need. So it can be hard to follow through. Like, even if it's like, I know I need to do X, Y, and Z for myself, but man, everyone else needs me to do X, Y, and Z. So I'm just going to do that instead because that's more important and no one else seems to care about what I need. So just like staying in a comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 9 friend who I think is super, super healthy. And what she did was she sought out, she was like, I want to play tennis. I want to be around other people, be in community, and be in a tennis community. And she wanted to wear cute outfits. So she sought out like a tennis group, and she's been doing tennis like recreationally for like 5 years, and she's really good at it. And it's just like finding that thing that makes you feel peaceful, that does make you feel connected, is really important for nines. There's so many like things that are beautiful about the Enneagram.
One question. What are wings and how do you know like what your wing is?
So wings are once you know your main type, wings are your neighbor numbers on the Enneagram symbols. You're a 3. So on next to you is a 4 and a 2. So you can either be a 3-wing 4 or a 3-wing 2. We have access to both of those numbers. And think of it like a flavoring, like salt and pepper. It's, to be honest, not that important. It just, you can, some days you maybe use your 2-wing a little bit, maybe use your 4-wing a little bit more if you're like leaning into a process at work, or if you're in your 2-wing, you could be really needing to be relational, needing to build community, stuff like that. But really, I wouldn't worry about wings unless you know your main type. But yes, just think of them as like salt and pepper flavoring.
Makes sense. So we are going to continue this conversation. I have a bunch of other questions that I want to talk about with you, but can you let us know about your book? First of all, if you are watching on YouTube, I have her book here. It is so freaking cute. Like, oh my gosh, I love it so much. But I think this is such an approachable, because a lot of the stuff, like when you see Enneagram stuff, like all the crossing and all the like diagrams and stuff, it feels very clinical and it feels very overwhelming. And the fact that this is so approachable and you actually have resources in here to do things with, I just think that you did such an amazing job. And when we're recording this, launch day was yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
Very exciting. So we will link to this, but anything that you want to share about the book that might be helpful for someone at all, or any thoughts on it?
I first of all appreciate you saying that. That's definitely like the reason I was like, because there's a lot of Enneagram books and there's a lot of wonderful Enneagram books. That's how I got introduced to the Enneagram, The Road Back to You. So good. I have friends who've written books and they're amazing. What I wanted to do was like, I really struggled figuring out the Enneagram when I first learned about it, because everything felt either too simple and like not trustworthy, like some random stuff on the internet, or way too dense and they were talking way above my head. And I was like, what the heck? Like going all into these things and using this dense language. And I don't know about you, but I kind of have a squirrel brain. And especially when I was first learning about the Enneagram, I was working like 3 jobs. I was a nanny. I was a waitress. I was trying to be an actor. Like there was a lot going on. Like I didn't have time to take a course or, do a dissertation on this random thing that I had just learned about. So what I really wanted to do was make it kind of like a Goldilocks of like, hey, let's learn about this tool in a really like playful and approachable way, while also giving you tools to do something about it. Because if it's just a fact and it does nothing to your life, like what's the point? I wanted to give it a point, like with exercises and journal prompts to help you use the knowledge to be better.
I actually think this could be a really great, maybe this is wild to me, but like dinner table book. I had it out on our dinner table when me and my husband were eating dinner. And I just found myself like asking him questions from it and stuff and doing stuff. And it was just so, I don't know, it's just so interesting to kind of get different opinions. So is there ever types that like tend to gravitate towards each other?
So yes, but there's no like hard data on that. It's actually something I'm working on of like, okay, well, because I see so many 8 and 9 marriages, something about certain types I do think really come together. And then there's some pairings that you just never see. But obviously, like, healthy people make healthy relationships.
Oh gosh, guys, I hope this episode made you feel seen in one way or another. We will link to everything, but Abby and I are going to continue this conversation. But thank you so much for joining us and giving us all those examples, and hopefully it'll help guide everyone's wellness journey.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, I hope you loved that episode. Abby is she's just such a breath. She's sunshine. She is sunshine. And to me, I feel like that is what we should all strive to be in this world. Helpful sunshine, right? If you are interested in more, be sure to check out her book. It is phenomenal and it has actual exercises to kind of help you deepen. But it also, I just think it's such a unique book because it's so different than a lot of the other ones out there that just feel, like I said in the episode, very clinical or very a lot of work, to be completely honest, right? And Abby's is just kind of like a book that you can flip through a little bit. And I think it's fabulous. Plus, it's so freaking cute. And who doesn't love a cute book on their bookshelf? So we will link that for you in the notes for this episode. But thank you so much for tuning in to another one. Remember, if you have the Looli app or if you want to get in there and listen to more, we go over a variety of things with Abby. We go over some more personal things about how she navigated postpartum, as well as more Enneagram stuff. So it's a mix of getting to know her more as well as more about the Enneagram. So give that a listen. If you do not have the app, you can do a free 7-day trial. Get in there and listen to it. If you like the app, you can keep it. If not, no harm, no foul. So thank you so much again for tuning in. And rate, review, subscribe, all of the things. Share this with someone if you want someone else to understand their own Enneagram type for their benefit or yours. I think that one thing that's really helpful is understanding other people's Enneagram types so you understand why they do things and honestly how to talk to or present or to kind of communicate with them. It is so freaking helpful. So if you want to learn more, snag her book, listen to that extended episode, and we will see you in the next one, friends. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you later.